Chapter 1 الحشاشون.
There isn't much bustle these days in this fertile valley nestled among the Elburz mountain range of northern Iran, overlooking the capital city of Tehran. Nestled as it is by the province of Kasvin, known for its history as a center of trade, calligraphy and culture, to the south, and the Mazandaran province, known for its forests, bridges and as the birthplace of the last Shah of Iran, to the north, it's as if the region is frozen in time. Sure, there are slightly more modern roads that steer through here, curving through the imposing crags, gullies and hills, but even these seem foreboding in comparison to the densely huddled villages you leave as you make your ascent through the vastly impenetrable boulders and hills. Even the rivers, ravines and lakes seem to hum more like a funeral chant than a natural, gurgling stream. The preternatural silence that crowns these stones, punctuated by the occasional lone cry of an eagle, is less a welcome solace than an omen warning to the unwary visitor that there are secrets drenched in blood and viscera buried deep within the ruins and rubble. Frozen in time, the first impression you get upon taking in the surrounding mountains and boulders is that not very much has changed since the early 12th century. And for all ostensible purposes, it hasn't. After all, bones have their secrets to keep as well. It's perhaps ironic that we begin our review of secret societies at what has been popularly dubbed the very cradle of civilization. Perhaps not so ironic, after all. Perhaps secrecy is fundamental to the human condition. And perhaps the whole of the collective human experience as we know it is marked to some degree by the twin hands of manipulation and bloodshed. Cain and Abel. Master and servant. Tyrant and subject. Perhaps when we learn how deeply ingrained these processes are within us, we can begin to see them as obsolete mechanisms that have far outlived their usefulness. Distant relics of an unfortunate past. As distant as Alamet. Though the time of the Hashishins is long past, their relevance is still integral to our study. Though the last of the Hashishins died over 600 years ago, their presence still lives on to this day, embodied in modern terrorist organizations, rogue mercenaries and military juntas, embodied in the very heart, brains and sinews of anyone who would seek to control, dominate and tyrannize through the means of force, bloodshed and menace to pursue any political, religious or economic agenda, regardless of faction or sect. In fact, their very name lives on to this day, entered into everyday language, assassin. And without a thorough knowledge of the origin of the tactics secret societies have developed throughout history, those who refuse to remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Origins of the Hashishin. Perhaps the blueprint for all secret societies, an understanding of the role the Hashishin played is impossible without understanding the context in which they developed. By the 12th century, Islam had splintered into several distinct branches, two of whom are still locked in a bitter conflict to this day, the Shia and the Sunni. The Sunni, who represent the largest denomination of Muslims in the world, maintain that Abu Bakr, the father-in-law of the Prophet Muhammad, is the first and rightful caliph, the direct political and religious successor to the Prophet, of the Muslim community. In distinction, Shiite philosophy declares that the Prophet's son-in-law and cousin Ali holds rightful claim to the title of Caliph. Within this divide, numerous subdivisions occur, each claiming distinct lineages and successions as varied and conflicting as their tenets. Within the Shiite branch, the three largest subdivisions are recognized as the Imamiyya, the Ismaili, and the Zaydi. There is not enough space to detail the specific differences between various branches and divisions of faith. Suffice to say, that by 1090, much of the Middle East was largely under the rule of the Fatimid Caliphate, who claimed direct origin from Fatima, the first daughter of the Prophet. The Caliphate itself was explicitly Shiite in scope, with the caste majority of rulers being adherents of Ismailism. One of the most visible branches of Ismailism at that time was the Nizari branch, which flourished throughout Persia and Syria in the 11th century. And it is directly to the Nizari branch that the Hashishin developed and flourished, under the stern and all-watching leadership of its founder and visionary, Hassan I Saba, the Old Man of the Mountains. There is no accurate date or records for the birth of Hassan I Saba, and what little we know about his upbringing and early life stems from an allegedly autobiographical account quoted in the anonymously penned Ismaili chronicle Sargazasht-e Sayyidna. The account states that Hassan was born in Persia in the 1050s to a Imami family, and was raised with the tenets of that faith in the city of Ray, where the future Grand Master also studied alchemy, philosophy, astronomy, and it is rumored, certain occult doctrines practiced by renegade Muslim imams.